Chapter 3. An officer and this guy. Come on, babe, Will pleaded. What was the point of moving to Potsdam to make a whole lot of money winning these tournaments? He paused for a moment to aid the impact of this argument. If I can't even spend some of it on the things I don't like to do. Okay, first off, we moved here for your career in esports. Katie paused. So you could be closer to the stadium. Not so you could spend our extra money on a maid instead of helping me clean and straighten up the apartment. Now look, she continued with absolution. It took me a long while to adapt to what you call working when you're streaming. And sure, I get it. And I also understand that after long hours of streaming or a stressful tournament, you might be tired and just want to be left alone. She looked toward Will with frustration mounting in her eyes. But Jesus Christ, man, you've literally fought a war. Taken a shit on a genocidal maniac's throne. Katie paused, adding effect to her delivery. I don't think cleaning up after yourself is an impossible task. Yeah, Will replied with puppy dog eyes. But I like shitting on his throne. I hate doing the dishes. He laughed relentlessly. I love you. Katie stepped closer to him, kissing him on the cheek. But no, we're not getting a maid. She accompanied the kiss with a light slap across his cheek. Fine. Will mumbled like a child, pushing his shoulder-length hair behind his ear. Lifting a roll-out TV out of the large box beneath his feet, he stood looking at Katie, awaiting orders like a dutiful soldier. You still want the big one in the bedroom, don't you? Katie asked with a playful smile, because she already knew the answer. Will grinned back at her. Mm-hmm. He nodded with glee, widening his smirk. Go ahead. She chuckled. He excitedly carried the elongated tube containing their big screen television back to their bedroom, chanting, Thank you, thank you, thank you, repeatedly as he ran to set up the TV. Will scuffled in their bedroom. In a few minutes, Katie heard another box open. She knew that meant he was setting up his console in the bedroom. Babe! She yelled. Come say bye so I can get back to work. As he jumped up, Katie heard one of the boxes in the room tumbling over. It's fine, Will spoke, sounding exasperated while tripping over another box located directly outside the bedroom door. I'm fine. Will picked himself from the floor with ease and made his way toward Katie. At the bottom of the steps, he hesitated for a moment. Her eyes glistened watching her childlike fiancé approach. Let that moment embrace him for as long as time allowed, filling his lungs with a long, deep breath. He was with a woman who loved him entirely, embracing all his flaws, looking at him with a desire in her eyes that made him feel weightless and without burden or doubt. Will's shortcomings emboldened Katie to embrace her own imperfection at times. Within that complete harmonious dissonance, they found a balance within the other that they could not find within themselves. They had an inherent desire to cast away their frivolous arguments at a moment's notice, so long as it meant peace and happiness between them. It was that which, in its own, proved their perfection for each other. She stood in the kitchen dressed in her dark blue uniform, large police shield upon her chest, about to begin her first day on patrol for the Potsdam Police Department. Her crystal blue eyes enamored Will, revealing the innocent heart of the woman staring back at him. Her curly hair seemed slightly shorter than Will's, but still sat at the same shorter length, complemented by its perfect sepia color. She had a few freckles she was self-conscious about. Will adored each and every one of them. Most would not think to give much caution, if any at all, to Katie. She received many forms of training, from kickboxing, martial arts, and law enforcement combative training to her own regimen that she stuck to religiously. Will feared no man walking on earth, but Katie frightened him intensely. She put such a focus into her combat training, Will should be required to hold a permit just to date her. Her passion, strength, and courageousness personified beauty to Will. For all his faults, she knew only forgiveness and support. A goal Will fell short on more than one occasion. Sometimes, Katie would take time for her understanding to persevere, but she was, and remains, aware that her outlooks and opinions are not final. Her skill for empathy made an impregnable love. Even when they were angry and fighting with each other, they endured. They compromised to get along with each other. This unbridled dedication led Will to finally propose after returning from his second deployment. The dearth thoughts of a home without her broke him while deployed. He vowed to himself, if he made it home, he would make sure he lived the rest of his life in the company of Katie. Will gathered Katie in his arms to deliver her desired goodbye kiss. She turned to leave, and he smacked her rear, blowing her another kiss with a wink. Responding to the smack, she turned her head over her shoulder toward him in time to receive the kiss Will sent through the air. She pretended to catch the kiss on her cheek and laughed at the fool with whom she decided to spend the rest of their entangled lives. Retrieving her coat from the rack, she walked to the front door. Katie opened the door to their apartment and stepped into the hall. In her peripherals, she noticed a lady standing over by her new neighbor's apartment, quickly stuffing something into her makeup bag and banging, casually looking into one of those holes in her neighbor's window pane. I don't think he's here. From what I'm told, you'd know if he was, Katie chuckled, adjusting her gun holster around her body before she left, placing one arm through her coat. The whole floor reeks to high hell. At least, that's what the landlord said when we moved. Why did you take this apartment then? The mysterious lady inquired. Kitty watched the lady's eyes land upon her detective's badge. It's a beautiful apartment. The detective shrugged to reply. The price is right, and I'm rarely going to be home to see him, anyways. Katie nodded to the door in front of the curious lady across the hall and snickered, turning to walk toward the stairs. Her intuition didn't feel comfortable leaving this lady here alone. She added, You coming? Oh, the lady stammered. Yes. No point waiting for him to return, I suppose. She zipped up the makeup bag, grabbing her suitcase in tow behind her. They walked side by side, following the staircase, winding down to the main floor of the apartment building. The awkward silence built between them as they descended each step. Hi, Miss Edna, Katie greeted the older lady, shaking a cat treat can as they passed the second floor landing. So, you, from Colorado? Katie asked, trying to make small talk with someone other than her fiancé and other cops. She observed her mysterious companion suspiciously out of the corner of her eyes. Katie seized up the mysterious lady based on the responses to her general line of questioning. Quick to answer questions about the weather, but hesitating when the line of questioning edged closer to who and what she was. Katie knew better than to stick her nose where it did not belong. It generally led into more trouble than it was truly worth. Well, opening the doors to Ocean Boulevard, the detective said with a smile, Good luck. What do you mean, good luck? The mysterious woman gave her defense. Katie marveled at the first truly natural response she received. With whatever you need from that dick, she quickly added. If half the stories they say about him are true, I'm sure you're desperate. One on Red Point! Will yelled from across the channel. He crashed his boot along the latch, imploding the locked door in front of him. Breach! T-Dog commanded. The front man brazenly burst through the entrance, looking to the furthest corner in his line of sight, with Will following behind, eyeing the opposite corner, an empty room. Clear, announced T-Dog. Danny, T-Dog called out. Frag it out! He spoke in a lower tone of voice, crouching below the window and then into the next room. T-Dog used the stock of his assault rifle to break the glass of the window. He motioned for his squad, Will, Danny, and Andre, the medic, to exit the same door they entered. Once they cleared the doorway, Danny equipped the explosive ordnance. Readying his frag, he shouted, Frag out! Danny tossed it into the other room, rushing outside with the rest of his squad. They lined along the wall to shield themselves from the backdraft. T-Dog slammed the door shut behind Danny as he ran past. The explosion rattled the door, separating them from their intended targets. T-Dog kicked the door open again, proceeding to clear the next room, stepping over the door recently torn from its hinges. The remains of 4 people scattered around the smoke-filled room. Bad place to camp, Will said. How many more? Andre cautioned the team. He's signatures showing at least 3 more groups, Danny answered. Showing signatures by yellow point. Do we have enough? Can we call in aerial support? Will exasperated. Danny pulled out his communication device and radioed through a different channel. Requesting aerial support at yellow point. Do you copy? Silence filled the line. Requesting aerial support. A gunshot rang out. A line shot through the temporal lobe of Danny, grazing Will on the side of his arm. Shit! Andre exclaimed. They got Danny! The fire team took cover behind the building they just cleared. T-Dog looked to Andre. Look, I know you want to try and help him, but we will have to get back to him in a minute. First, we gotta get the sniper. T-Dog looked at the radio Danny dropped. Will, can you see the radio? You got it, T. I'm going to throw a smoke. Wait till it fumes up and you hear a shot. After the shot, go, and I'll lay cover. Done, Will replied. T-Dog threw the smoke out and put his hand on Will's shoulder, holding him there. 9 seconds into a fully formed cloud, there was a gunshot. Go! T-Dog threw Will forward toward the radio. T-Dog lit up the building where the shot originated, long enough to get Will back into cover. T-Dog ripped the radio from Will's hand. This is T-Dog to air support. He rattled off the coordinates of the building located south of him, where the sniper sat. Blow it to shit. Do you copy? Blow it to shit. Copy, the radio responded. The moments passed. Each felt like hours stretched to darkness, watching their comrade Danny fade away while they could do nothing to save him. Danny whispered, Fly, you fools, as he passed. A blast rang from the south as the building collapsed. Air support finally arrived. For Danny! The squad yelled out their air support, clearing out the sniper. There's 4 more signatures showing up at Blue Point, Andre announced. Do we go slow and quiet, or fast and loud? T-Dog saw a riot shield lying by a dead body in the road across from them. Loud as a motherfucker, boys. Andre grabbed the grenade launcher left behind by Danny. T-Dog equipped the riot shield, and Will knew what he had to do. At a single-floor building at Yellow Point, Will and Andre assumed wide flanks, one to the right and one to the left side of the building. Ready, boys? The fire team leader loaded his magazines. Let's fuck 'em up! Will bellowed. T-Dog held out the shield, walking directly toward the building. He knew the last of the insurgents were hiding inside it. T-Dog threw one grenade at the entrance, blowing the door off its hinges. Instantly, the bullets began to fly. Gunfire hammering on his shield, he slowly inched toward the building. Another grenade was let loose, knocking down a portion of the wall. The gunfire continued to pelt onto his shield. T-Dog kissed his last grenade before throwing it to the right side of the building, blasting an opening in the wall for Andre to enter. Andre rained his version of sulfur and hellfire upon the building with his grenade launcher from the flank. The walls in front of them started to fall. Bullets pecked into the little supporting wall, separating them from the group of hostiles. All the while, Will snuck around to the opposite side of the building. Using the explosions from the grenades as cover, he managed to break out a window and silently waited in the shadows. The hostile group filed into the only undamaged room of the building. Once Will heard the door shut, he tossed one grenade into the room and jolted to get away from the blast. Before the grenade exploded, a single gunshot illuminated the shadowed window of the remaining room of the building. The bullet found its way centered into Will's heart. The building exploded as Will's knees fell to the ground. T-Dog watched as the soldier, a member of his fire team, and his best friend was shot in cold blood right in front of him. He rushed over to Will, holding his head on his lap. He sat on the ground next to him. "No!" he screamed. "Will! It can't be!" The pain of losing his friend was too overwhelming to bear. Slowly, the announcer's voice proclaimed their victory to the spectators. Will's and Danny's avatars materialized next to T-Dog's for their celebration in the victor's circle of carbon copy. "Are you done?" Will asked T-Dog. "Look, man, let's not pretend you're not pissed that he fucked your killed deathspread." Will's career as a professional gamer accelerated recently when he and his team leader and close friend T-Dog signed contracts with a team flying through the ranks known as Duff Nation. Slayer Monthly recognized Will as the best Slayer in North America for the newly iconic game Carbon Copy. When 2 Sports opened on their illustrious team, the award was based on the game recording his career kill-to-death spread ratio assessed at the end of each multiplayer game. Carbon Copy is a virtual reality first-person shooter focused heavily on tactics executed at precisely the right time by other team members, which is how Duff Nation earned a reputation for being the most well-organized team in gaming history. The team consisted of all members with previous military history. They were led by their newly appointed fire team leader, T-Dog. They kicked ass. Will took off his virtual reality headset, but his microphone was still in the fire team chat. "What are you guys getting into tonight?" "I gotta take the lady out for dinner. Take it easy, guys," Danny uttered, quickly leaving the chat. "I'm off to work," Andre replied before following suit. "What about you, T-Dog?" "Nada. I just feel like getting lit as fuck," T-Dog replied. "I told you, stop saying that word. It died in like 2018 or some shit," Will said in an exasperated tone. "Liddy!" T-Dog elongated, laughing, while smacking whatever he was near, reveling in the fact that he was annoying Will. "I'll come over and we can smoke out, man," Will tiresomely replied. "See you in a bit." "Yep," was all Will heard before T-Dog left the party. Will gathered his things to walk out of his apartment into the hallway. He stopped to take another look at his neighbor's door. While moving, he accidentally put a hole into his neighbor's window pane, directly beside the pre-existing one. By Deus Ex Machina, There lay a nearby broom and dustpan to clear the scene. Convenient, he had thought to himself as he swept the remnants in the hall. He looked into the disheveled office through the two holes. To his knowledge, the resident had not returned yet. Will walked down the steps to the parking garage, jumping into his new sporty biodiesel he purchased a few days ago. He loved the blue shade to it. A sticky note on the steering wheel read, "You're a dork," with a cute smiley face drawn upon it. He beamed at it with happiness, leaving it in place. Will drove down the road, taking in the quiet town of Potstow. There were no sirens blaring in the distance, or people racing past him as he drove a little over the speed limit. It was a quiet town, but that did not make him feel at ease. Having served for his country himself, he understood and respected the service Katie provided. Fortunately, he was also aware of the risks. Most days, he worried she would be put into a situation where she would have to take a life or, worse, have hers taken from her. He could not bear to let that happen to her. What he wanted her to have was a nice, peaceful desk job where he knew she was safe. But he would never ask her to do that. Will knew she loved the excitement and challenge inherent in the job, and he would never try to take that away from her. He was aware of the possibility he was jealous, missing some of the excitement for himself. Will pulled into T-Dog's driveway, wondering whether his neighbor had discovered the new hole left for him in the window pane of his door. Will realized far too late he should have left a note explaining the occurrence. Man, he said to himself, I just hope he isn't a dick.